Alright, hey everybody, let's go ahead and get started. I hope you all had a great day. My Tuesday has actually been pretty good. I finally, another cold front's coming through here, so it's cooling off a little bit. It's definitely nice. But let's get to programming. So we're still working on mouse picking, specifically these multi-layer cliff faces turned out to be pretty complicated. And we got the first draft of the code written down, but it doesn't work exactly how we want. So again, the graphical mesh is fine, and you can see here that the cliff face just goes straight from the top to the bottom, but there's actually two layers of blocks here, so the collision mesh needs to be broken in the middle. And when we open up the collision mesh, you can see that for some reason all of the vertices have been, or like it's redirecting over to these vertices over here. And I guess we just need to figure out where this hexagon is, or where the game is getting this hexagon, because yeah, I'm not really sure. I think that's the very last row and column, so it's a little weird. Okay, so this is the code that does it. Yeah, for each elevation, first we get the offset, which this is fine. Okay, so I think it's set these, it's just yeah, so it's the very first layer. Or let's open this up again and take a closer look. Because it works its way up each layer. So yeah, it's this first one. It looks like the top vertices are fine. Although, well, it's hard to tell. I think that some of these triangles are also messed up. So if I turn this off. Yeah, see, they're all like converging in the middle. I think that's just because the position is wrong for those vertices, maybe. Let's see. So here we add the vertex, and we have the 2D position. Since this it returns in vector 3. Yeah, this is correct. X and Z. So I wonder, it seems like, let's take a closer look. So again, if we turn off the visible mesh and just look at the collision mesh, so it's kind of hard to tell what's going on because in 3D space everything's getting covered. Sorry about that, I accidentally dragged my OBS window, but it looks all good now. So, okay, yeah, so it's flattening the Z coordinate, because we can see the X coordinate is still fine, but the Z coordinates don't match up, and they're all in the center, or the Z coordinates aren't what we would expect. Oh, and it's because this get corner world offset, again, it's using the X and the Y, or the X and the Z to store the information, the Y is just 0. Okay, so I think, yeah, a lot of the confusion here has come from converting from these vector 2s to vector 3s, so I think I'll convert back to just using vector 3s. And I'll just need to remember that that will use the X and the Z coordinate for the horizontal, or I guess the non-elevation vectors, and the Y is elevation. This doesn't need to know num rows, does it? Okay, that's fine. So here, let's see, where else? So again, I could just use this get cell center to have the middle center 2D. Do I even need to keep? Oh yeah, I do, because I pass it again there, but maybe I don't need to, but it's fine. Okay, and then here we call get cell center, so yeah, it's just takes care of that. And so we just need to remember to basically we need to change the elevation here. Okay, so yeah, no vector 2. And then we'll just do something like a position dot y equals this. That's all good. And b position.y is, that's the same thing, isn't it? So instead of multiplying again, I'll just copy the y position like that. Okay. So let's see. I don't know if this will fix the weird bug where everything is going over to the corner, but it should at least fix the Z squishing issue. Dog always gets so crazy around this time of night, so I'm sorry if you're hearing strange squeaking sounds. Alright, let's see. Okay, well now this works fine, but the top vertices have disappeared. That is weird. Okay, so let's see. This music is a bit loud. Okay, there. Hopefully that's better. Again, just please let me know if volume levels are off at all. Okay, so I'm just trying to look and try and... Okay, so maybe they're not actually like squished to or connecting to these vertices. Maybe they just have the same position, because I don't know why some of them would be pointing towards the center. It is a little weird, because that means something is wrong with this top A and B. So maybe the higher index is getting messed up. But this just passes this information through, so... I don't think that any of these values are wrong. It's strange that when I fixed this, we saw a different iteration of the bug. Could it be a problem adding the triangles, maybe? I don't know, because the bottom persists, and we just put the top to the bottom, and then we figure out the new top on the next loop through. So I don't think there's like any way that the values can be leaked from a previous call or something. So let's actually just not do the top layer and see what happens then. So this is what I want to open. Still some weirdness. Okay. So what's... What about if I just do the top layer, what's gonna happen then? So do +2. Okay, so something is happening. No matter what, the bottom layer just always stretches over to this column. So I guess the code is actually at this part. Wait. Higher, higher, lower, lower. No, it's fine. Oh, I see the problem. Okay, yeah, this is just a brain fart on my part last night. I'm assigning this to be the corner and not the vertex index. So what I actually have to do is get the lower storage, corners, and then the vertice like this. So I just need to convert the corner index to the vertex index. Yeah, that's a little misstep on my part. Okay. That's a little better, I guess, but it's not how it's supposed to be. It looks like it's like crisscrossing. It's a little hard to see. Okay, so for one thing, I don't know why... Yeah, the top isn't being created correctly, so maybe we should fix that. Because this hexagon here should actually be 2 layers higher. Maybe that is one of our issues. Because it's saying that the higher storage is actually the wrong elevation. So maybe it's because of something I did yesterday. Okay, so yeah, let's not even pass this. We'll just figure it out again. What was that right here? So vector 3 center equals get cell center. And so the center, yeah, doesn't care about... Yeah, because the elevation's always 0 there. So what I should actually do is still make this return the correct elevation, I guess, and then when we do this code here, we just disregard the y coordinate completely because we replace it here, so it'll all work out. Alright, so what I need to do is in this 2 world, I need to pass blueprint, height step, and then also blueprint, cells, index, elevation to get the correct layer. Now that I think about it, instead of like calculating the elevation here, I should probably use the code or have some helper function here to get elevation. Well, get height, I guess. Okay, yeah, this is a little redundant, but just in case I ever have to change this value. Or not. Redundant's the wrong word, it seems a little silly, but okay, and now back in the collision mesh generator, instead of calculating the height right here, I can just call hex mass get height, and that would be E, then the blueprint height step. Okay, so let's try this. Okay, so yeah, this is looking better. The top is in the right position, and it looks like we have two fully formed layers, although I don't like how these triangles change ordering, although I don't know if it actually matters. Yeah, I actually kind of want them to all go in the same direction as the visible mesh. But before I worry about that, let's actually see if it gives me the correct tile IDs, or block IDs I should say, when I mouse over. Okay, so this top is 62, and it should say 62 on all sides, and it doesn't. That says -13. Okay. From the gold's perspective, 62. It's a 62 all here, and I expect on the other side it'll say -13 for all three sides. Or does it just go through? Okay, yeah, so it actually is going through because the triangles are wound the wrong way. Okay, so yeah. And let's see. Again, let's get rid of this canvas. That'll be a way to turn it off in the editor view. So these are the three that were already generated. So that is when the actual hexagon that we're creating is the higher hexagon. So these three faces that are wrong. Did I actually? Oh no, that's right. Yeah, so these three. Oh, I just lost. Yeah, these three are correct, and these three are backwards, and we need to maybe just flipping some vertices will do the trick. So right here I already, again it's from the neighbors higher, I flipped these, and maybe I don't need to do that. So if I put them back in order, I'm hoping that that will fix all our issues. But it will kind of just mirror the faces, which might be all we need to do. So let's see. Okay, so now these are wound the correct way, and yeah, everything on the silver side looks good too. So when I mouse over something on that side, let's see what value it gives us. So again, the top is 62 and 62. It stays 62, good. Alright, so yeah, it's all working, and then if I move down to the bottom layer, it should... Okay, that's negative 13, so that's wrong. It should be 62 minus 25. Don't make me do math in my head, but it's just 27, I think? Oh no, not 27, 37. But definitely not negative 13, so let's look. So maybe this should just be higher index r times this minus 1. That doesn't seem right to me, but obviously this math is wrong. Okay, so the thing is, this higher index is the cell index and not... Oh yeah, so I was thinking about this wrong. It's the cell index and not the block index, so actually should be plus and then this elevation times the blueprint cell count. So it's actually exactly the same, this code, so we can move this like that and take that out of there. So let's look. 62, and then when I move down, it should be 37, and of course 8. And if all sides, hopefully it's 37. Looks good. Okay, so it looks like we figured this out. Thankfully. Alright, okay, so let's try the opposite, where we have a 3-layer, or basically a 2-layer pit. And then on layer 1 and 2, this will be, what do I call it? Empty, I think. No, that's not what I want. Oh, I know the issue. This should be layers 2 and 3, not 1 and 2. Okay, this looks right. So if I look at the collision mesh and the editor, I don't see anything weird. And the winding is still the same as the visible mesh, which is always a good indicator that things are working right. Okay. So hopefully, I mean, this code isn't really any different than the one before, except we just kind of inverted it, but let's look and see. So block 12, 41, 66. I'm just going to kind of drag my mouse around here. Okay. It should be 25 different between each, and so far so good. And then when I move up across the cusp here, the block index should not change, and so far it hasn't. Okay, did I check all the sides? I think so. Alright, so there's one other thing I want to do before we move on, kind of an irregular pillar. So we'll go back to having just one layer, and then I want to have, change this back to dirt, I want to have a tall pillar in the middle, and then around this I want to have some other single layer hills. So I guess I look at the diagram here to give me an idea for the offsets. So again, if we're at row 3, 3, then we want one, I guess, at column -1, but in the same row. So this would be 2, 3, and then I want one here. So one more column and one less row. And then here, so same column and one greater row. So if I did my math correctly, we should see kind of a, I guess, a flower type shape. Okay, yeah. And so the visible mesh looks fine. Again, let's get rid of this canvas. I don't see anything weird going on in the visible mesh, which is good to see. And the collision mesh, oops, did not mean to drag it. Yeah, so the good thing about our code is that it only takes like one side of the cliff into consideration, so I didn't think this would throw any problems into the machine, but just to be safe. So now let's actually try the mouse picking and see if the terrain values work fine. That's a little weird, the shadow is a little messed up, but I won't worry about that too much right now. Okay, so here 38, and again all faces should say 38, and it looks good, and then 37, 62, 41. So far so good. Okay. So cool. Guess we're all done with mouse picking for now. And again, the collision mesh is just basically a simpler mesh that will hide beneath the visible mesh, because the visible mesh will get much more complicated, but we really don't need the collision mesh to get any more complicated than it is. Oh, we did want to try to optimize these triangles. That should be pretty simple. So let's look again. So basically, for any regular polygon, you can always represent it with a number of triangles equal to the number of corners minus 2. And so for hexagons, we can do this with 4 triangles. But for the visible mesh, we wanted to keep it with these like 6 radially outward triangles just to keep make things easier down the road. But the collision mesh, like I said, is going to stay simple, so I think we can go ahead and optimize. It's probably a little silly to optimize this early, but I think it'll be a good what's the word? Exercise, and it'll be pretty simple anyway. So for int I equals 0, it's 4. So all we have to do is just add a triangle, or we don't even need to add the center vertex anymore. So I'll just comment this out for now. I'll leave it again in case we ever need to go back to having 6 triangles on the top. Okay, so it's storage. We'll always use the first corner as the one angle to our triangle. And the next one is I plus 1, and then I plus 2. So pretty simple. And then we need to give it So I press insert. Block index. Okay, and that should be it, if I have my math right. Okay, so let me get rid of the visible mesh. Okay, yeah, this is, we can see now every hexagon is made up of 4 triangles. It's kind of hard to, it's harder to see the hexagon now with this wire mesh, but let's turn this back on and make sure that mouse picking is still working fine. So this should be 0, and if I move the mouse all around, it stays the correct index. So yeah, no problem, and we just like took a whole lot of triangles out of the mesh, so when we get to bigger maps that should make a big difference, but it's not a huge deal at this point. But anyway, it was something short, and I thought this is something good to do at the moment. Okay, so yeah, we're done with this for real now. Okay, so next we need to go back and kind of fix up the loading code, because soon we're going to need to be able to get data from the mesh, specifically what colors each block should have. And to do that, we'll need to be able to get information in the mod system, or information from the mod system about the colors that the mod authors have given us. So we can take a break from working with vertices for a little bit. Alright, so in the map generation, where did I place this code? I'm trying to find the map generation phase enumeration. What's it called? Oh, it's staring me in the face. So technically we should generate the mesh right in between check info and check, and before we signal the server that we're all ready to go to the next phase of the game. But we want to do it after the info has been checked, because obviously we only want to create this mesh if everything is valid. Okay, so this is battle data verifier. Yeah, that's where I inserted this terrain code. So I want to just make a new class. Okay, so terrain mesh. The reason we want to do this is because the very first time we create the mesh, it might take a little longer to sort out. So it'd be nice if we could do it during the loading phase before the game actually starts up. So what do I want to call this? I guess terrain mesh setup. Although okay, so this kind of breaks one of the rules I was trying to do. Let's close all this again. Oops, I dropped a couple frames there. Looks stabilized now, so I do apologize about that. So what was it? Battle data verifier. Yeah, because even here it uses, because I don't really want anything in the game logic to ever access anything in the UX. So ideally, the actual game logic wouldn't even know that the terrain mesh exists. It doesn't actually care about it. So maybe I should just make some generic class that's like do the pre-game or initial loads or something. So I guess it's really the same thing, I just don't really want this terrain mesh setup. I don't want to call it terrain mesh setup, it should just be something like I don't know, I guess UX load signal or something. Okay, so yeah, this will just have some message. That some other class can subscribe to. Would it be a message? Yeah, I guess it'd be some message that classes can subscribe to tell the signaler that it's doing, that it wants to do some work. So what would be the best way to handle that? So auto controller. They're not called. Yeah, that's what I wanted. But it wasn't giving me the option to. There we go. Okay, so I'll just have some message here. I guess that's how I'll do it. Doesn't need an argument. This will just be a signal already, or ready to load. And then somewhere else in the terrain mesh, probably not. I don't want to have it in this actual terrain mesh class because the class basically I want other objects to tell it what to do. Okay, so maybe I'll do something like this. Let's fix up the namespace. And this again will have another auto controller. And what I want to do is subscribe to that message I just created, which I guess I haven't created yet, but and this will be tag. It's been a while since I've done this, so I had to remember all the syntax. Yeah, so map generation, and then we'll give it a new key here. Let's just say UX load signal. And then on signal, be a function. Okay, so and then here is where we'd actually call the setup for the terrain mesh. Oh, what's it not like about that? It's in our same namespace. Oh, yeah, I renamed the namespace, so I need to rename this folder actually. Okay. Give it a while to think. It's always a little slow to rename a folder. Okay, there we go. And what's in the link about this autocontroller does not... Oh. I don't know what was going on there, but it seems to have fixed itself. So now we just call terrain... create... Oh, what is it? Generate. Then I also need to call the setup function, which I'll just grab from here. Yeah, let's not use explicit namespaces, I'll just using, that should be fine. My code color is all messed up now. Okay, so now that we're done with that, I can take all this code out. Okay, so this is really all this needs to do here, except I guess it needs some way to signal back that it's done loading. This is actually a message claim. I wonder what the best way to do to handle this, because really the signaler doesn't know how many things it's waiting for. So maybe a better way to do this would actually... It's like this initial loader needs to somehow register itself into a list, and then the load signaler would then go down and tell each one that it's ready to get started. And then when each one has signaled back that it's done loading, then we'd actually proceed. Okay, so I guess I need a couple more messages. I need to be able to register myself and then also signal back that I'm done. I guess to register we can just use a list. Yeah, I think this is how we have to do it. Because normally, I mean, one way we could have done it is just say, okay, the load signal will just send a signal that everything's loading and then not wait to move on, but I think... Well, actually, would that be okay? Well, no, because then we could move on to the next phase before the mesh has started loading, and when we move to the map scene, it will expect the mesh to already be done. That's the whole point. Yeah, so we need to have some way to tell the game to wait until this UX is finished. But again, I don't want the game logic to actually know what is loading. Okay, so maybe I can just make a helper class or something that would be like, I don't know, a work queue or something like that. I feel like I might have to do something like this again later on. It'd be nice if I had one object that I could, I can signal, like instead of having to have multiple messages to signal back and forth, I can just have one object to do it all. I'll just call it a worker list. And then the objects inside would just need to have callback for when they're ready. Okay. So I guess we can really just have a list here, a list of functions to call. Or should we could go the interface route. I'm trying to think in the future if there's any other options I want to add to this. Like what if the work had to be cancelled? Yeah, I could see that happening. So in that case, I feel like I should have an interface here. Worker list entry, and we'll just have a function, start work, and cancel work. I guess this should also be an iComponent, so I can just place it into my component registry. So I'll go ahead, oops, I don't want to use that. I'm going to use my Beluga Gameflow logic. Oh, I used that extra public? Oh, kind of, I guess. So ready for cleanup. I guess it'll be ready for cleanup after somebody calls dispose on it. So private bool disposed. And I guess at this point we'd also clear the list. That's not how you spell true. And no errors right now. So we'll want to be able to add an entry to the list and remove an entry. I guess we'd want to remove it, and it's not that difficult to give that functionality. And okay, and then the only other thing we need to do here is signal start work. Okay, and this is obviously where the magic happens. We'll have an integer here. Well, that might not be a good idea, because I was gonna say we'll have an integer here for, like, I don't know, like active workers. But then if a worker could signal that it was done multiple times, it would mess up the counter. So we should probably just have another list. And then we'll just remove things from the list as they're complete. And here. Yeah, I was just thinking that if I keep going back and forth about if I want to use an interface here or just use messages, but I don't really know what would be better or worse. Because right here, like for signal start work, I would just loop through the list and each one call start work. Another way I could do it is just have a message here that each of the workers would have subscribed to. That kind of fits with the way the rest of my game logic works, so maybe I will do it like that. Guess I'll still have this interface, because it will need to be like some unique key that we'll track each worker by. So if I want to do it this way, then I'll need to have a message. So on start. Oops. And I guess there'll be one other message, which is signal complete. And this will have the list entry as an argument. Oops. Trying to see what's other. Okay, so I can just send it preferences. I think we can just go with the default for these. And then this one we actually do need to send. We want it to have unlimited subscriptions. Oh right, unlimited claims. And the other one's gonna have unlimited subscriptions, but only one claim. Okay, and then I'll just expose each of these. So now I don't even have to call this specifically. Well, I guess just to keep things simple. So this object itself will go ahead and claim the on start and on cancel. Well, no, it should be separate because that will help make sure that only one object can actually call the onStart. Just to prevent bugs. Oh wait, is that right? Well, technically that is right, but that's not going to work because this class needs to subscribe to a message. Yeah, I'm making things too complicated. Okay, so when some class calls signal start work, first I'd add everything in the list into the active workers. First I'll clear the active workers. And active workers add range. I guess I should rename this list to something like all workers, since we have 2 now. And then I would call the start claim And that will trigger all the functions that have been registered into this message. So similarly, when we call cancel, I guess first we just clear the active workers and then call cancel claim. So there is like a little bit of a vulnerability here because obviously any class can call the start and cancel claim functions here. But yeah, I just don't want to make things too complicated. So yeah, we need, this object needs to have the message claim. Okay, so yeah. And then this class itself needs to subscribe to the signal complete, and that's how it will know when I'm I guess yeah, I don't really need to have this message, do I? Because it'll be just as easy for someone to just call this a function on this worker list itself. Okay, so public bool work complete. So put signal at the beginning, and yeah, it doesn't have a return value. So this would be an I worker list entry. Let's call it worker to keep things consistent. And so active workers, remove the worker. And if active workers count is 0, then we'll call. Okay, so that's what we need to do. We need to have another message to know when all the workers are done. What just happened there? I must have messed something up here. Oh, I have duplicated names, so this should be on complete claim or all complete claim. And then I just need to get message claim for this again. Oops. Do it again. All complete claim equals on all complete. Okay, so again, if all the workers have signaled that they're done, then we would call the on or all complete claim, and that would signal to some other class that we're done here. Okay, I guess the only other thing I can see is we should probably have a boolean here that we're working right now. And then yeah, we won't even do anything here if we're not working. That way this won't accidentally be called twice. Okay, so I think this is good. So let's go back to the load signaler. So yeah, we won't have a claim here actually, we'll have the worker list. Okay, so I guess we'll just call this UX workers. And this will be controller, get component, worker list, and we can do that because we set worker list to have iComponent. And this will be map gen. I'll just reuse the one I already created. And then we'll want to subscribe to the on all complete, subscribe. I guess I'll just call this on UX work complete, and then we call some other function. I haven't even hooked up this class with the rest of the game logic, but I'll get to that. One other thing that could happen is that if there's no workers signaled here, we should probably just move on. Something like this. Call this check all done. And I need to set working to false. So yeah, I don't need to check that twice actually. So here, if active workers or all workers, if there's no workers registered, then we'd want to just call this again right away. So let's call it check all done right now. Otherwise, this code would need to have like a different code path depending on if the UX workers has any registered or not, and we don't really want to have to deal with that. I don't need this. Let's go back to the initial loader. So this isn't a message anymore, this is a list. I guess we'll need to have a reference to it. Controller, get component. Yeah, it's just this thing. Which I wish my code color would fix itself. It's hard to look at, or these weird tags confuse me. And then we'll just need to know, I won't worry about on cancel now, but we will want to subscribe to this. To on signal. Oh, and then I need to register myself, and in order to do that I should call all iWorker list entry, and we don't actually need any variables in it or functions in it. So yeah, work list. Let's call it add worker. Okay, and I guess this UX load signaler, it'll know when we move out of this phase, it will dispose the list. So we won't have to worry about removing ourselves from it. So in that respect, let's go ahead and hook this load signaler up to the rest of the game logic. And the first thing I'll do is in the phase, let's add something else here. I guess, what should I call it? It's final loading. And then the flow manager, we'll need to add something else here. So instead of, I'll copy this since we're adding another phase in here. So this will change to on final load complete. Then we switch to this, but then on the battle check info, all we have to do is just move on. Oops. Forgot it uses an integer. And is there anything else that uses these enumerations? Yeah, right here. So I need to add my new phase here so that I won't get confused if we time out during that part. I think that's all good. Okay, so now I just need to register to that new message. So this would be something like final load complete. Okay, so now we just need to call that when we're done. Let's get back this verifier. I guess we can just use that. Oh yeah, I want to subscribe. Guess I need to get this phase variable. Almost every component needs that. And then that looks good. We won't need this public or this update function. What I actually need to do is just switch between the different phase values. So if it's final loading, that means that basically we're going. So we call workers signal start work, and it could immediately finish. So actually I need to wait one frame, I think. Okay, so that is a little annoying. We will need to have an updater. I'll get back to that. But anyway, there's an error or a disconnect, or what else can happen. Basically, if we ever have to exit the scene, we need to dispose this. Maybe there should be a better way. Flow manager. Disconnect error. Incomplete. So what is this called? I really probably be a better way besides looking at the phase, like some message that we need to dispose of the assets. I don't think I set that up. Did I? I guess no time like the present. There'd be two. Like if there's an error, we need to dispose everything, but if we're just exiting the scene, all we really want to do is just get rid of this worker list. So what do I want to call this? Let's just call it on scene exit. Well, there already is a game phase. Maybe I can just use that. I don't know, I'm probably thinking too much about this. Really all I want to do is, well, I can just dispose it once, won't get disposed if there's an error, but well, let's add just a to-do. Because yeah, I don't think I don't dispose anything yet when we crash. So I want to add something else here. Dispose UX worker list on an error, or basically whenever the scene exits. I just need a better, I don't want to say that. I need a better system to tell whenever we're exiting a scene so I can get rid of that. Oh hey Mimiron, it's going pretty good. I'm working on the terrain right now. Fortunately, the game, I can't run it right now because I'm in the middle of something, otherwise I'd show you. Okay, so let's not worry about that right now. So I do need to register for game update ticks because we have to wait until the next update before we can call this. Otherwise, if we change a phase right when a phase has changed on the same frame, we'll get an error, so we gotta wait one frame. It's a common bug that I've ran into many times on this project. So now I know to watch out for it. Okay, this is delta time, but we don't care about that. No, we can't just use a Boolean active. I guess I could just unregister from this when we're done. Let's see. So final loading, and then I guess, yeah, right here I'll just remove myself from the list, so now this function will only ever be called once. Equals false, and so first I just need to signal all the workers to do their job. Start work. Okay, and now finally when this is done we can call that new message. Claim on complete. Controller claim message. No argument. TLT tag. Map generator. Final loading complete. And then we just call that. And at this point, I can go ahead and dispose the workers because we know that's not going to be called twice in one scene, although this isn't a good, this isn't a complete solution because again, if the scene exits due to an error, this code would never run. And so this worker list would stay in the game forever, but we just have to deal with that for now, I think. I'll dispose it before, just to make sure. And is that, I think that's everything. So now on the map generator controller, I need to create those new classes. Okay, and I guess this is the one exception to the game logics never using the UX classes because I don't know where else they'd actually be created. Probably we should think of a better way to do this, but for now, it'll be okay. Okay, so let's just play the game and see. Hopefully it doesn't crash and burn. Okay, so there was an error. Must be claimed correctly. Yeah, that's not gonna help. Workerless signal start work. So I didn't like that I called the start claim because it said it hadn't been claimed, but I did claim it right here. Right, so let's look. Maybe the code has gotten right there, so contains, when would it not contain it? So this looks right to me. Oh, it's not active. Okay, yeah, you gotta pass true here to make sure the claim starts registered. Forgot about that part because a lot of the code actually doesn't, like, handles that for me automatically. Okay, so now, yeah, I thought this might happen. It's getting stuck here. Oh, and that's because I don't think the mesh generator ever signals that it's done. So, right now, I guess technically we could use a thread to help this terrain be generated over multiple frames, but we won't deal with that now, so I'll just go ahead and signal that I'm done immediately. Did forget to do that. Okay, so that didn't seem to fix the issue. So let's debug the number of entries in here. Not editor. Unity engine, debug log, active workers count. Let's actually get the working state variable there too. Okay, so it looks like it's never being called. So I did create this class, didn't I? Yeah. Did I? Yeah, I registered here. Now that I think about it, yeah, none of the debugs for the terrain generation that we wrote actually triggered. So generate mesh. I did subscribe to it. I guess this maybe has to start out active too. That's a little annoying. I feel like it's... Oh, well, yeah, this... The whole point of this work list is it doesn't last more than one scene, so this will be okay. What else do I want to do? So I need to... Okay, now this claim message will activate and deactivate automatically for me. It's just whenever I interface with this message, it's not like automatically dealt with for me. So maybe maybe I did make this a little more complicated than I needed to by having this class that would handle these messages, but I don't know, it should be okay. I just need to remember to activate it. It's been a while since we've messed with that game logic stuff, so I guess it's good to have a refresher. Okay, so now it loaded. So yeah, generate mesh, and then yeah, true, and no more active workers. And obviously that worked fine because we got through to the actual game. Okay. Oh. Is the camera not working? Okay, so yeah, it's technically not in the play phase yet, it's still in the map generation. And we can tell here because it's still final loading. And I can't move the camera. So this is on all complete. That should have been called. Oh, this was false there, wasn't it? Why? Oh no, it was true. So then when it got here, it should have called this all complete message. Which should have called this... Okay, let's just make sure that this... signaled all done. See if that's called. If that wasn't called, maybe it's a problem with this on complete. Okay, yeah, so it did get the signal. So I'll remove this while I remember. And okay, so the issue is this on complete. Is nothing registered to it? I thought I handled that already. Oh, except I didn't rename the function. Okay, so this function is never being called. Okay, so let's try that. I'm pretty sure I just connected all the dots. Okay, yeah, so now we're in the play phase. We can tell by the monsters being created, and I'm able to move the camera, and everything is working as we wanted. Okay, so good. And I guess I'll get rid of these debug logs. Alright, so now we can mark something else off the list. Still got a little bit more to do there, but I'm good for now. So, one thing I want to be able to do is we should be able to rebuild the mesh anytime during battle, whenever basically a monster or something, or any ability changes something of the terrain. So, but obviously we don't have any terrain change actions ready. And I guess we could go make one, but that seems like that would be a kind of big detour from working on the terrain mesh, so I'm not sure I want to tackle that at this point. But we should go ahead and set up how the terrain mesh will update whenever something changes, because that is, or that will be an important, I guess, to use lingo, use case for it. So let's see, what should I call this? I guess this will be the modification watcher. And it's actually going to be a lot like this, except without the worker list and everything, but really it'll just register to some message that says, oh, the terrain has changed, and then for now we'll just rebuild the whole terrain mesh, which is overkill, but later on we'll have easier ways to just generate parts of the or regenerate parts of the terrain. Set that up. We don't need to call this again though. And we don't need anything to do with the work list. So let's change this to, I don't know, on. I need 2 ons. On terrain change, and then I'll just call terrain generate. Should I have a separate clear? I guess probably. Although I don't know why we'd want to clear the entire terrain in the final version, but I guess we would just tell the meshes to clear. So yeah, graphics mesh clear and collision mesh clear. We found out in the 2D Lights project that you need to call clear first before you modify anything in the mesh, otherwise Unity will throw errors if the triangles and vertices are mismatched, even if you're in the middle of changing them. I think that's all I have to do here. So yeah, first we'll call clear and then we'll generate. So now I just need to call this, and for now we'll just do something really simple. Oh wait, we want to subscribe to a message, and there'll be no, like later on we'd actually want to send like what block specifically changed, but like I said, right now we're not going to worry about any of that. This is actually the map. Okay, so this will be I guess I can get rid of this realize map probably, but I guess this will be board change. Alright, and then I have to actually give it the function. Okay, so now whenever this message is called on terrain change, will handle the signal, which will just regenerate the terrain mesh. So now something needs to actually call this message, and what I'm going to do is just kind of make a testing object here. It will be a mono behavior just because that's easy to set up. So let's see. Let's just call remove block tester. And I'll just remove that one high column, and then we'll regenerate the terrain, and hopefully everything should work out. So what do I need here? I guess should be in the right namespace for one. Oh, we actually don't have time to do all this. Okay, well before I start working on this, I guess I'll wrap up the stream, because it is ending time. Let's just take a look. So, yeah, the loading did take a little longer than I thought it would, but I think having that worker list will kind of future-proof us in case we need to load a bunch of other assets then. You could see setting up monsters and stuff, for example, but... And then, of course, mouse picking. Finally got a semi-complicated map here, and everything is... Or the game is recognizing the block that the mouse is over at all times, and then, of course, the graphics mesh still looks very simple. Soon we're going to add color, hopefully tomorrow, and after that we'll add texture. So yeah, that'll be nice to get more than just flat green, because to be honest, this doesn't look any better than how the map looked when we started, and that was the whole point, was to get a better map. But yeah, anyway, thanks everybody for coming by and watching. I appreciate it. And if you missed part of this stream or any previous one and you'd like to catch up, I do upload everything to my YouTube channel. You can get there by typing !YouTube in chat or looking at my channel description. I also have a Discord channel if you'd like to chat with me and other viewers. We'd love to have you there. You can get there the same way, Discord or Discord in chat or my video description. And of course, feel free to follow me here on Twitch if you want to. Be notified when I go live tomorrow. Oh, actually, okay. Well, I do stream at 8:30 Eastern, but tomorrow I won't be here because I have a family gathering. Actually, it's a birthday party right during my stream time, so I'm sorry, I'll just have to go eat some cake instead. I hope you'll forgive me. But yes, I'll be back Thursday at 8:30 Eastern time, and we'll continue with this. Hopefully, finally getting some colors on here besides the pale green. But anyway, yeah, I guess that's it for me for tonight. Again, thanks everybody for watching, and I hope you have a great night. Bye-bye.